Hey everyone, you are listening to episode 13 of Generation GC, Let the Music Play with Kelly Zeller. My name is Molly Hudelson, and I am your host. I just wanted to give you a heads up that as well as the episode, this intro is being recorded a little bit in advance, so if the episode itself doesn't seem extremely timely, that's why. And I also wanted to come on and just share a few things that have been on my mind lately. I've actually had a lot of fun doing these special intros before we get into the proper episodes. Now, if you're listening to this show, if you are taking the time out of your day to listen to a Good Charlotte podcast, first of all, we should be friends. Second of all, I'm going to take a guess that you love Good Charlotte just as much as I do, and just as much as my guest this week, Kelly, does. Good Charlotte has helped me through so many things over the years. They've helped me through depression. They've helped me through heartbreak and rejection. They've helped me through family stuff, through struggling with my own career. And as I've been making this show, it's been incredibly rewarding for me to just connect with other Good Charlotte fans and get to hear your stories. We always tend to bond, I think, a little bit because we have this one really big thing in common, right? I always love getting to hear about your lives and ways that Good Charlotte has helped you. Please don't be afraid to send me a message if you're listening. I love hearing from you guys. You can hit me up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Generation GC Pod, P-O-D. Music can be a really great thing to help us feel understood and to calm us down and make us feel like we're not alone. And that's a big theme we get into on this episode. But I wanted to remind you that if you are struggling with mental illness such as depression, anxiety, or an eating disorder, if you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, if you're grieving, if you have family issues or domestic violence, if you have anything going on like that, please reach out for help. Now, I've mentioned this on the show before, but To Write Love on Her Arms has a really great resource on their website. So go to TWLOHA.org, click on the button that says Find Help. That'll help you find some resources in your area. If you're in crisis, you can call the crisis hotline, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. You can also text the crisis text line, 741-741. Something that has been on my mind lately is that just knowing with the quarantine situation, that's made it even tougher for people that are unfortunately in domestic violence situations. So I wanted to share the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline 2, and that number is 1-800-799-7233. Another number I thought it was important to share is the Trans Lifeline. This is a hotline for and operated by transgender people and trans people in crisis, and that number is 877-565-8860. Finally, these numbers are all in the US, but if you're outside the US, one resource that I've actually found to be super helpful and just a great directory for resources all around the world is through the show 13 Reasons Why. They have a website, go to 13reasonswhy.info, and that has a directory of resources for several different countries around the world, so that's really helpful. I also wanted to remind you guys to visit blacklivesmatters.card.co for information on how you can help in the current Black Lives Matter and anti-police brutality protests and movement. There's going to be information on there on protests. Remember, if you are protesting, please wear a mask and practice social distancing, quarantine, wash your hands and get tested because coronavirus is still a thing. There's information on there about how you can donate, even if you don't have money, as well as petitions to sign, ways to educate yourself. Finally, Generation G stickers. Yes, they are coming. So exciting. 2 ways to get a sticker. Number 1, you can support the show on Anchor, and that helps me sustain the show, have the right equipment, and do things like print stickers and get them mailed to you guys. Or donate to any of the organizations listed at blacklivesmatters.card.co. That link will be in the description. Thought that would be a fun way to encourage you guys to get involved with some great causes. So do one of those 2. Send me a screenshot of your support or donation and your mailing address. You can DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod or send me an email, generationgcpod@gmail.com, and I will mail you some stickers. I know this has been a super long intro, but it was really important for me to come on and share resources with you guys. I know that was a lot of information. It's all going to be in the show notes too, but look, mental health and people getting help is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And you'll hear this on this episode, and you'll hear it throughout the show too, so it's probably not surprising information, but I know what it's like to feel alone. I don't want anyone else ever in the world to feel like they are alone in what they're going through, to feel like they can't reach out for help. I know that not knowing where to get help is a pretty big barrier to entry for a lot of people, and I wanted to make sure that anyone listening to this show at least knows where they can get help. And maybe if you don't need it, maybe a friend of yours does. So write that information down. Thank you all for listening, and now on to our episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of the Generation GC podcast. My name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host, and I am here today with Kelly Zeller to talk about Let the Music Play from Cardiology. Kelly lives in Houston, Texas, and works as a technician with hopes of breaking into the music industry as a tour manager. She loves traveling, hanging with friends, live music, and candles. Kelly, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Kelly. So, listeners, last week you heard us talk about Keep Your Hands Off My Girl from Good Morning Revival. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Youth Authority, and we'll also have a mini bonus episode coming at you in between. So, Kelly, I do have several kind of getting to know you questions because I want our listeners to help get to know who you are. But before we dive into all of those, I want to ask, what is your favorite candle scent?
Ooh, okay. So there's one from Bath and Body Works. It's called Barcelona.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever been to Anthropology, but they have a candle by a company like Capra Blue or something that's called Volcano.
Ooh. Okay.
But it's like $60.
I was going to say Anthropology is usually pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's like ridiculously expensive. So this Bath and Body Works candle smells just like it, and you can get it for like $8 when it's on sale.
I love that.
I'm ashamed to admit that I bought like 10 of them last time.
Yo, why not? I went to, a friend of mine actually works at Bath and Body Works, and we went there last month before the lockdown. So listeners, we're recording this in April. So my friend and I went to Bath and Body Works in March, just before the lockdown went into effect in New Jersey, because she was like, I think we're supposed to get hand sanitizer in. Like, I'm off today, but let's go check because I think we're going to get hand sanitizer in. And by the time we got there, they had just completely sold out. It was crazy. Yeah. So, okay, so let's get into it. So, Kelly, I mean, you and I met at a Good Charlotte set at Warped Tour in Indiana. You came in there all the way from Texas. How did you first find out about Good Charlotte? What did you think of them when you first heard them?
Ooh, okay. I mean, from the get-go, I've been kind of all about them. Like, I feel like I immediately loved them. It wasn't like I'll hear them every once in a while and be okay with it.
Oh, like, so there was no, like, they had to grow on you. None of that.
No. But I think it comes from, like, how I was introduced to Good Charlotte, I guess. It was like, oh man, it was like 2001, and my like quote unquote boyfriend at the time, like we were 11, like
right,
as boyfriend can get.
Right.
He made me a mixtape of all the songs that I heard on the radio that reminded me of him. So like this poor sucker sat and like downloaded these songs from LimeWire for like weeks.
Oh my god.
But Little Things was the first on the mixtape. So like I don't know, it was I was like, oh my gosh, this guy went through all of this for me. I feel so
Yeah.
special.
I know.
So,
And
like,
nowadays we're like, oh, someone made me a Spotify playlist. Oh my
right,
God.
right. And then like 2 weeks later, they renamed it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my immediately or like my immediate infatuation with them was like halfway because I liked them, but also halfway because of the memories, you know?
Right. Like I think that's big, you know, the people that
Yeah.
you shared the songs with.
Yeah, and like I very distinctly remember specifically saving up lunch money to go to FYE and buy
Oh.
self-titled.
Yep.
And like because I didn't really have internet or cable as a kid.
Mhm.
So I wasn't hearing it on there. I wasn't seeing music videos or anything. And like I wore that poor little insert out on that self-titled album because that was like the only pictures I had of them. That was
Yeah.
like my only
So
connection to them.
did you have the version of the self-titled that had the click on it, or did you have the original version before they added that song?
I had the original version before they added it.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, but like, you know, as
That's kind of
kids
old
are,
school though. That's cool.
I downloaded it.
Yeah. So had you been like into music already at that time, or was Good Charlotte like the first band for you?
Oh no, I mean like I've always loved music. Like my parents were super into like Michael Jackson, Beatles, and my older sister is like 5 years older than me. So like she was starting to introduce me to like Offspring, Sublime. So I was getting kind of assaulted by music everywhere and I just kind of learned to love it. But like I remember driving around with her when she first got her license and we would just drive around the neighborhood and listen to like.
Is she older?
Yeah, she's 5 years older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like I was getting, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was starting to dive into less music that my parents liked and more music that was kind of like closer to the Good Charlotte genre.
Okay.
So it was honestly only a matter of time.
Yeah. So I want to talk about all of this traveling and following tours that you do. So yeah, so to expand on the story of how Kelly and I met, so I was on Warped Tour in 2016. Obviously, realizing I was going to be on the tour with Good Charlotte was one of the greatest experiences ever.
Yeah.
I knew that I had to photograph their set, like, as many times I could, you know. I was working another job on the tour, but would negotiate with my bosses to like bust ass and then take my breaks like to see Good Charlotte every single day. And Indianapolis, I guess outside of Indianapolis, was their first show on Warped Tour 2016, first time in Warped Tour over a decade. I'm in the photo pit. Kelly is front row. But Kelly, you're from Texas.
Yeah.
So why come all the way? Why get into this traveling?
I mean, why not?
Right, yeah.
You know, actual answer is I love traveling. I'm like the kind of person where if I could just get a job where I could do it from anywhere in the world, I would never stay still.
Yeah.
And like the story of how I even got up to Indiana for the Warped Tour was a weird thing all on its own, but like one that kind of started a snowball of getting this like amazing group of friends, because I didn't know anyone in Indiana for like ever. And then one day on Twitter when they were talking about like Good Charlotte being on Warped Tour and Indiana's the first show, I was like, oh my gosh, why couldn't it be Houston? And then Sadie, I don't know, GC fam on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. I follow her.
We started talking and she was like, oh my gosh, you should just come up. And I was like, no, I couldn't. That'd be insane. Like I would actually be psycho. And she was like, no, do it. We travel all the time. And she was like, hey, Alyssa, hop in on this. And Alyssa's Sketch Queen on Twitter. And so she's like, hey, Alyssa, hop in on this. And Alyssa's like, hell yeah, come on up here. And I was like, okay, well, let me look at hotels. And she was like, no, forget that. Just sleep on my couch. Like, I got you. And it was the first time, like, the complete opposite of what my parents told me of, like, don't meet strangers on the internet.
Yeah.
All that out the window.
So did you fly up or did you drive up?
I flew up.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made that drive once before, and that's not a drive that I will do many times in my life.
That's a long drive, and it's probably like just a lot of like nothing and fields. It's not like driving through, you know, Utah or Arizona where you might see this like gorgeous desert or mountains. Yeah, it's like a lot of flat.
None of that, and like 8 hours of it is still in Texas. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah. So when I travel over like East Coast, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's like 2 hours away," and I'm like, "You can go through 3 states in 2 hours." Let's go.
I live in New Jersey, and if I drive 2 hours north, I would go through New York into Connecticut, you know, or into part of New York. If I go west, I would drive into Pennsylvania. If I went like southwest, I could probably be in Delaware in 2 hours.
Yeah, and that's insane to me. Like, that's bonkers, because the nearest big city from me is 2.5 hours.
Right.
Like, and it's still very much the same state.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And then you, since with all of these, you know, people, you've since traveled together quite a bit.
Yes.
So how many times have you seen Good Charlotte, and how many different states and countries have you seen them in? Because you went to Europe to see them, didn't you?
Yeah, twice. I went to Europe and UK.
Oh, amazing.
Let's see. So pre-hiatus, probably like 3 shows, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was also at like 3 pre-hiatus.
Yeah, because my first was Young and Hopeless.
Okay.
My second was Chronicles, and then I went. So I posted on Twitter that in 2005, I was 16, 17, and my friend and I skipped school on a Friday to drive to Shiner, Texas, just like 6-7 hours from me.
Oh wow!
We got this janky, like, shitty truck stop hotel.
Okay.
And then the next day we went to the thing called Shiner Boktoberfest, which is their huge, like, beer music festival, because Good Charlotte was playing.
It was probably awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, like, we were having the best time, and like, that's a story that I will never forget. So
yeah,
that's the 3 before, and then I was kicking myself because I kept saying, like, every show that they came after that, I was like, I can't make it for this one. I'll go to the next one. I'll go to the next one.
The one that I really regret not going to pre-hiatus is the cardiology tour. So I was in Ohio for the summer. I was staying at school for the summer, and the closest it came was Indianapolis, of course. What, you know, and it was like a 5-hour drive, but I had a little bit of money from my, you know, lifeguarding and tutoring jobs, and I could have afforded to drive and get a hotel for the night, but I was just like, nah, I don't want to drive 5 hours by myself.
Yeah.
And then they went on hiatus 3 months later. I regret it.
And of course, as soon as they do that, you're like, I should have done it.
Yep.
I should have done it. Let's see. After, gosh, okay, hold on. We're gonna have to walk through this. Let's see. Dallas, Warped. 2 Thanksgiving shows that my mom almost killed me over.
Okay.
Because they were in Houston 2 days before Thanksgiving. They were in Dallas the day before Thanksgiving, and my mom would, like, looked at me because we had all of our family come in, and I had Alyssa and Sadie sleeping on the floor in one of our other rooms, and my mom just looked at me and she's like, if you're not back by Thanksgiving, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we'll be back. We'll totally be back. So after the show, we hung out until like bus call at 2 or 3. And then I was just like, okay, guys, we're going to do this. We got to go home. So I drove like 4.5 hours and got home at like 8 in the morning.
Well, you were
as
back.
Everyone's as everyone's
exactly.
waking up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ta-da, Mom, I kept my word. Can I go nap?
I'm here.
Let's see. Did a couple of the East Coast, Warped Cruise, UK for my birthday. Jeez.
I just remember seeing you whenever you have gone to Europe. I remember seeing you post pictures of food in Italy. And I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. No, I still have dreams about those.
I bet.
Pizza and pasta and so much delicious wine. And, it was just awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Probably grand total generalizing 38.
Nice.
40?
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So is there any city or country or venue that you haven't seen Good Charlotte, but you would really like to?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, I'd see him in a strip mall parking lot right now if it meant I got to see him.
Yeah, same.
But I'd really like to do another Europe tour.
Okay.
Or like I regrettably did not go to the Ali Pali show, and like all my friends that were there, I was just watching all of their videos and I was like, I should have gone. I should have freaking just done it.
Yeah.
Or like an Asia run, or like I really want to go to a Canadian show because they play the Click.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Last show they played in Toronto, they played the Click, and like Canada goes off for it.
All right, I'm there. All right, we'll split a hotel.
Right? Like, come on down. We'll do what we usually do because all the girls will probably want to come. So I'll just get a big hotel room and shove 8 people into it.
Oh yeah.
Hope you're cool with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I want to talk also about career-wise. So it looks like you went to school at Full Sail for music business. You are wanting to become a tour manager. What made you want to pursue a career in music?
Existing in it is the short answer. The long answer is for like ever. I jumped around with what I wanted to do in school. Like right out of college or right out of high school, I was doing interior design, and then I hated that because I realized I only went for a boy. And then, I was like, I work for Apple. I should maybe do like computer science or something. So I was doing that for a long time, and I got my associates in that, but like it didn't make me happy.
Okay.
Like I was never motivated or fulfilled. And I think it was the East Coast Youth Authority tour where I went to the Pennsylvania and 2 New York shows, where like I was talking to Paul after a show, and we were talking about him being in school, and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. And he's like, no, he's like, you gotta do something that you love. Like you can't force yourself. I was like, yeah, okay. And then, like, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he is just the sweetest. Oh, man. He is the sweetest little angel. Chris, he's usually their tour manager. He's just a cute little nugget, and I love him so much. But, like, it's because of people like him and, like, the positive experiences that the tour managers, like, get to give, when they're good.
Oh yeah.
But like I don't know, I always thought of how special it was, and how like he always managed to be like somehow involved in a lot of the like special things to me, like all the meet and greets, all of the stupid hangs where he's like, okay, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go see if anyone can come over, and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I don't know, like I always thought, hey, this is something that I want to do. Like I want to give to people like me where they're like fans and this band means so much to them. Like I want to give them something that's memorable if I can. And like, you know, the longer I was in the program, the more I realized that that's what made me happy. That was my intrinsic motivator. Like I got the bubblies from it. And so like I was barely getting a 2.5 GPA in computer science, not because I sucked at it, but because
your heart
I didn't care. Yeah, I didn't care to do better. But like for the music business program, I ended up valedictorian because like I wanted to do well. Like thank you, but like I wanted to bust my ass. So
yeah, it's amazing what a difference it makes when it's like something you want to do.
It's night and day. Like if you're sitting there and you're like, man, I'm not feeling this, like cool, do something else. Because the second you find that motivator, like it's like the difference between those little like poppers that you throw on the ground and like a firecracker.
Yeah. That's such a great comparison. I love that. So
yeah.
let's dive into Let the Music Play. So Let the Music Play is track 2 on Good Charlotte's 5th album, Cardiology, came out in 2010. It follows Introduction to Cardiology, so it's the first full song on the album. Was not a single. They have played it live, but from what I could tell, the last time they played it was in the spring of 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was looking at set lists, as I was looking at set lists from that time, I was like, so many songs from this album never got played live, which I am a little salty about. Have you ever gotten to see them play this song?
Nope, never. And I'm still a little bitter about it.
Crime. Yeah. Crime.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you don't love me.
Right. Right. It's personal. So, Kelly, as soon as I had the idea for this podcast, I knew like I had to reach out to you, and we were talking back and forth about different songs we might want to talk about, and I asked what you might want to talk about from Cardiology, and you picked Let the Music Play. So why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
Cardiology as a whole, just like it hit me hard. I was in a really like weird place in life when it came out. So like for me, I connected with this because it kind of felt like The Young and the Hopeless, but like grown up.
Okay.
I don't know. It just it hit me the same way that album did back in like 2003, and it kind of let me know that they still had my back.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Totally.
But like this song is, you know, it's like a hey, I know, but come on, like if you can only just survive through it, that's cool. Like write it out. And there was just something about that was just like, okay, cool. So there's someone on my side that's saying you don't have to do awesome during this, but like just get through this.
That's such a good way of putting it, because I feel like, I mean, especially right now, I was on video chat with a really good friend of mine last night, and we were just talking about how, you know, with the whole quarantine situation right now, you know, it's a great example of how so often people, when they're faced with a difficult circumstance, like you feel this pressure to like be a total badass, you know?
Yeah. And
like you either have to like be a total badass or you just are completely inconsolable and non-functioning. And you're not allowed to just like be.
Yeah, like you don't need to paint the next masterpiece or get into like ridiculous shape or anything, you know? If you want to sit in your pajama pants and eat a brownie every day, like that's cool. As long as you're getting through it. Like that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've taken to while I'm preheating the oven for my baked goods, I do like some ab exercises or something.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know,
I mean,
I'm sure that like, you know, 45 squats and several crunches will, you know,
that has to counterbalance, right?
Yeah. No, but I love what you said about that. And that I think really does get into what this song I think is about, that it is so wonderful to just be able to turn to music. Personally, I will say that like I really pity people that don't have like a favorite band, that don't have that connection to music. Like I have a cousin who's great girl, you know, but she just like doesn't really like music.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's nothing that she connects with, and that's fine. It doesn't make her, you know, a bad person. She's not wrong for that. I'm just like,
I don't get it. I don't get how that's possible. How, like, because I've always had this like weird connection in my head where if I do something while listening to music, the next time I do either of those things separately, like I think about the other. So
yeah.
Perfect example was for Chronicles. When it came out, I wore that sucker down. It was on repeat 24/7. And like, I was reading a book and it's called The Abarat. And to this day, if I read that book, for some reason my brain will start being like, oh, we're gonna hum this song. We're gonna hum this song. And they're all from Chronicles. And like, if I listen to Chronicles front to back as an album, I can distinctly remember things about that book. And like, my brain just connects things on a whole nother level. And so like, for there to be someone that doesn't even get like a fraction of that connection, I'm like, oh,
right. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, and I've talked about this on the show before, but Chronicles came out a few days before my bat mitzvah. It came out the day of my bat mitzvah rehearsal. So yeah, full listen to Chronicles definitely brings me back to like my bat mitzvah. Whether that's good or bad, you know, we can you know, discuss that separately. But
you know, I was gonna say, the fact that you can laugh about it, I'd say that's okay.
Yeah. But this song is so great to me. You know, the first verse, they're kind of talking about just finding a song for every moment. Second verse, about being able to grow after you go through those painful experiences. Then they kind of talk about feeling pretty alone and just turning to music. Do you have anything to add or anything else that you would say about what the song kind of means?
I mean, not really. They kind of hit the nail on the head, because I remember listening to it, and you know, when you're a kid, you don't really know like what's going on with everyone else, and so I always thought I was a weirdo, that I was connected too much to music.
Yeah. And I
so
felt
like
that too.
Yeah, and so the fact that I had like CDs burned for like moods, I was like, oh, I'm a psychopath. Like this is what puts me on a list. Like I have a happy CD, I have a sad CD, I have a breakup CD, and like I always thought I was just the weirdest person to associate songs with certain emotions like grief or joy, like things like that.
But that's like such a common thing.
I know, but for some reason in my brain, I thought I was the only person that did this. And maybe it was because of where I was as a person back then. Like I felt so alone. And then I heard this song, and they're talking, there's a song that you can find for every moment in your life. And it's just like, oh, okay. So I'm not alone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like it immediately,
and like it's okay to have that deep connection with music.
Yeah. And it's like, it's okay that, you know, sometimes you might not process emotions the best way for you. And like you know, sometimes music just gives you a really good cry that you need to.
Yeah.
Like, I spent like an hour earlier this week just creating a Spotify playlist that says I just need to cry a little bit. And like
sometimes you just do, though, you know?
Yeah. Like you gotta get it out, and you gotta do it in a fairly healthy way. And
yeah.
You know, I chose music to get it out.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to just kind of be told, nah, you're good.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I remember feeling like, I don't know if you experienced this also, but, you know, when I was in middle school, high school and such, and I knew some other people that might be into Good Charlotte or similar bands, you know, but they would grow out of their love for music. Like, not just grow out of a certain band, because I think that's relatively common. People's music taste doesn't necessarily say the same, but like, people just seemed to completely grow out of having any desire to check out new songs or go to shows. And like, that to me was super weird.
Yeah, no, I've had plenty of experience with people who, like, their only reason to have music in this world is to fill silence. Like, they don't listen to music, they hear music, you know?
I'm like getting the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah,
I hate that. I hate that.
No, but I absolutely know people who, like, there's this one guy that I used to work with, and he, you know, he was like, oh, you like Good Charlotte? Oh, what are you, in middle school? I'm like, dude, whatever. Like, yeah, it's fine. I like what I like. You like what you like. And he's like, well, you know, I don't really like listen to music. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'll turn on the radio to not have like silence in the car. And I was like, but you don't like listen to it? He's like, I mean, I'll tap my head or tap my hand on the steering wheel.
I think the weirdest thing I ever heard when we're talking about those kind of people is someone I knew that worked in the music industry and just was not into music.
What?
Like I was telling him about, you know, I was telling him about Walk the Moon and just gushing over Walk the Moon and how incredible it was to meet them last year. I'm just like completely gushing about that band. And this guy, he was just like, wow, I like wish that I like felt that way about any band.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh.
Like, oh, I wish I could give you that feeling for a bit.
Right. Like, I was like, but you also work in the music industry. Like, what are you doing? Why are you, you know, I think it's pretty well known that you don't work in music to get rich or to have a great work-life balance or you know, things like that.
Yeah.
So, like, usually people do it because they really love it. So
yeah. So, like, if you don't really love it, what's your deal?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while.
That's extra.
Yeah. So, in terms of this song and the story behind it, there was a track-by-track interview on Alternative Press. And I've always loved these track-by-tracks, you know, where an artist will just, like, go through every song on the album, give you, like, a couple sentences. Because so often there's deep cuts on the album that don't necessarily get asked about in interviews. So Benji did this little track-by-track, saying that it was in the spirit of Hold On, which was also written, you know, for the fans. And he explained, this was inspired by responses to a blog I posted on our website in January explaining about how we decided to restart the album. I had lost a little faith and was feeling down about the music industry in general. The replies to the blog from the GC fam were so uplifting and encouraging, I wanted to give something back. That's also why I wanted it to be the first song on the album. So for anyone listening, Kelly, I'm sure you know this, but for anyone listening they had started recording Cardiology with Howard Benson. They weren't happy about that, so they posted this big blog on their website about how they were gonna restart everything, and seems like this song came, I mean, later in the process, you know, when they were working with Don Gilmore in Vancouver, but I don't know when in that like second burst of recording, but it definitely came in that kind of second round of recording for this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still remember that blog post.
Yeah, me too.
Because I remember reading it and being like, oh my God, this is the end. Like, they're going to say they're re-recording it, but it's never going to happen.
Well, I remember thinking, oh shit, they're going to re-record it. It's not going to get... I remember kind of like knowing, I think I kind of knew that a hiatus was coming.
Yeah.
A hiatus or breakup was coming. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It's kind of... It was just one of those things where, like, if you had been listening to them for so long, like, some of the vibes that Cardiology gave off were just kind of like a, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, you could kind of tell they were just tired of a lot of things.
Yeah. And
this album.
You know, and we talked about in last week's episode about Keep Your Hands Off My Girl. We talked a lot, which Kelly, you know, you haven't heard that yet. But in the Keep Your Hands Off My Girl episode, James Boss and I talked a lot about just how cynical that song was, how completely over it they sounded in regards to like the Los Angeles club scene and everything, right? But, and I think that's like a very common theme throughout Good Morning Revival. But what I didn't get from Good Morning Revival was like, oh, we're done with being a band. You know? I didn't get that from Good Morning Revival at all.
No. With Good Morning Revival, it was more of like a, you know, all this is bullshit. It's kind of like someone taking it to Vegas and being like, you see her? Bullshit. You see that? Bullshit. Like, just kind of pointing out that, you know, what you're seeing is just kind of gilded, but at the heart of it, it's just a shitty piece of metal, you know?
Yeah. No, but I do agree that I think anyone who had like really been following the band at that point, like, I loved Cardiology, but I wasn't surprised when they, you know, went on hiatus.
Yeah. Like, I was, but I wasn't, you know?
Right. I mean, I was sad. Like, I cried for like 2 days, but like...
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't... Like, I can't say I'm shocked, you know?
No. I mean, I still kick myself in the head because, like, I was pouting or mourning or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but I went through and I ripped every poster off my wall.
Oh, no.
I shredded it.
Like, you felt betrayed?
Oh, I did the Great Purge.
Oh, like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
For the longest time. I was just like, nope. And like got rid of everything. I threw away all of my CDs. Like I threw a tantrum and it was the worst. Like, you know, when they come back and I'm like, I really wish I would have had some of those like now hard to find and rare posters that I used to have. Cool, thanks.
Well, my favorite thing about when they came back November 2015.
Oh yeah.
Literally 2 weeks before that. Do you remember that skeleton meme? There's like a skeleton on the bench. Right. So 2 weeks before they came back, having no idea they were going to come back, I did that skeleton meme. It's just a picture of a skeleton. And I said, me waiting for a Good Charlotte reunion.
Oh my God. You were the one that brought him back. They probably saw it and they're like, yeah, you're right, Molly.
I was like, yep, you know what? All right, I did it. Cool. It works.
You called upon them to reunite.
What I thought was interesting about Cardiology also was, in a lot of ways, it's a departure from Good Morning Revival, which was like such a cynical kind of album.
Yeah.
Very gloomy, dancey. And this is a lot more stripped back. It's a lot more pop rock or pop punk. I always gravitated towards the words pop rock to describe this album. But there are a lot of synths, like in this song in particular.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that was like creative decision of theirs,
right?
Or like someone saying, "Hey, we need to like carry a bridge over from the people that you're going to attract with Good Morning Revival."
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because I know, man, what was it? I think it might have been a meet and greet in Boise.
Okay.
On the Generation RX tour, where it was me and Ashley and one other guy in their sound check. And so like they just kind of looked up. It was perfect. Like it was one of the best experiences of my life. Like, because they came in and they were like prepared for this huge crowd, and Chris, little angel baby Chris, like before they came out, he was like, "Guys, please tell me you have some questions because it's just you three." And we were like, "It's okay, dude. Like, it's fine. We got this."
I have questions.
And so, like, they came out and they were like, hey, what's up? Hi. And we were like, hey. And they were like, okay, so we can be chill. And, like, they looked at, I think his name was Carrie. And they looked at him and they were like, "Are you okay if we do things chill? Like, we've seen him a lot of times, so are you cool with it?" And he goes, "I'm just happy to be here." And they're like, okay. He was so sweet, and he was just, but like they were asking us like, "Hey, so how you liking the vibes of all these, like blah blah blah." And so we started asking them. We were like, "What do you want to do?" And you know, Joel was talking about like, I would really like to re-record and release some songs from like the older albums of how we would do it now. And he was like, some of these songs, he was like, the live version that we do is so much better than the album version. And he's like, or like, I just don't want the same vibe. And he did mention Cardiology.
Ooh, okay.
So like stuff like that where it's like really synth heavy, that's why I'm just like, I wonder if that was them wanting that or someone else. Because you know, if that album is an album in his head where he's like, yeah, I want to re-record songs, being Cardiology, then like how much of that correction or the creative steering did you give away? Like,
I know. I wonder too, like how much. I mean, obviously, this song came in the later half, as did I think Counting the Days. I think he was like pretty clear about that. But I do wonder like what songs came in their first round of production with Howard Benson, and what came later with Don Gilmore.
Right? Can we get like a B-side album where like
there are a few B-sides from this? Some great B-sides.
I know, but like I want a whole album of all of them. Like,
okay.
All of them ever. Some of their B-sides are some of my favorites.
Oh, same. We could talk for hours about B-sides. Definitely.
For sure.
But I want to talk a little bit about how Good Charlotte has helped us. You know, this is the song that's very much about how music can help you and how music can really be there for you.
Yeah. You know, I think I have a similar story to a lot of people that got into Good Charlotte. You know, I was in a bad place at many points in my life, and you know, everyone's like, "Oh, Good Charlotte saved my life," but for a lot of people, it's true.
Yeah.
Because of Hold On, because of Let the Music Play, like you know, you kind of have to sit back and think and be like, man, without that song, where would I be? Like,
right.
And
right. It's like, would I have had the courage to reach
Yeah.
out to someone? Yeah.
because, you know, when the Young and the Helpless, or the Young and the Hopeless came out, I didn't have a ton of friends.
Yeah. Neither did I.
So I literally escaped into this album, and like to have them put Hold On the album, like, it was a weird thing where it felt like they were talking to just me, but also talking to everyone else like me.
Okay.
So like I was simultaneously like personally comforted, but also felt like I was not alone in all of this.
Yeah. Which is the coolest thing, I think.
Yeah.
Is
And to have a band that has, like, as they release albums, every single one of those albums like correlates to where I am or like what I need to hear, and you don't get that a lot. You don't get those connections that you get to make where you're just like, I feel this album on a spiritual level. But every time they put one out, it's the same story, you know? Like, I feel it on a spiritual level.
Yeah. No, I feel a lot of that too. I can, you know, as I have said on several episodes of this show, I did not have a lot of friends growing up. I did not fit in, but, you know, I found Good Charlotte in middle school, and I was kind of like, okay, this is like a thing that I can sort of identify with. You know, in high school, I was pretty depressed and would turn to their records for comfort quite a bit. You know, in college, I spent a lot of time just trying to figure myself out, what I wanted to do in life. You know, similar to you, Kelly, I did not go into my college career thinking I was going to work in music. I thought I was going to be like a doctor or an engineer or something.
Something STEM major.
Yeah. And just so many times where I turned to Good Charlotte and they just helped me through a lot. And it was just like, wow, they've like always been there for me. I always knew that, like, okay, my first tattoo is gonna be Good Charlotte related.
Oh.
and there was a lot of debate of what it was gonna be. Like, was it gonna be GC? Was it gonna say Hold On? Was it gonna say March On? But then when I heard Cardiology, I was like, oh, let the music play. I love that.
Yeah.
It encapsulates, I think, a lot about what I was feeling behind wanting a tattoo that said, like, Hold On, but it felt more positive and just a, you know, meta in the sense that it was about how important music is. So listeners, yes, I have a tattoo that says let the music play. It's on my collarbone area. I will see if I can find a good picture that I can post, because I'm sure people are going to want to see it.
Yeah, I was very much like you, where, like, I mean, my Good Charlotte tattoos were not my first ones by any means. I have some janky ones that I gave myself.
That's punk rock.
Yeah, you know, stick and poke. It's always good. But I also felt like I need something. And let's see, man, that was number 4, because like I was kind of being a little shit. Like, I was being a little scaredy cat about like non-committal, like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to do it. But eventually in Europe, Brussels was a really like big day for me, because it marked when I started turning around, and like it was the day I did try to end things, is the polite way to put it. So the Brussels show hit on, God, what was it, like 13th year? And so it was a really special show, and they played they played Hold On.
Oh my God.
And I was just
Were you just like bawling?
I was so gone. Like I left my body because, you know, I had seen the show enough to know where it was in the set list.
Oh, but
and
still.
Yeah. And so as soon as it started playing, or like as soon as the song ended, before the guys like went into their kind of like speech about it, I just remember looking over at Ashley and she was like, no, don't. I was like, I can't. And I just started crying. And like, I was like, I don't want them to look at me. Like, I'm just going to lean right here and not look. And she's like, they're looking at you. It's like, shut up. But like that moment, I was like, I have to get that song. I have to get Hold On. Cause I was going back and forth between Hold On and Let the Music Play.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has Let the Music Play.
Yeah. But yeah, so next meet and greet, I went up to Paul and I was like, I need you to do this for me. And he was like, okay. And so he wrote Hold On for me. And for the longest time, I just sat it there and I was like, I don't know where I want that. And then I had another bad day and I remember just like putting my hand on my heart and I was like, oh, okay, that's where I'm going to do it. So I have Hold On tattooed like right over my heart.
I love that.
So
so special.
I absolutely feel that vibe of your Let the Music Play. And I like how you're saying it is a positive one. It's like a, hey, you made it through this. Like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember, so I had always said I was going to get the tattoo March 2012 because that was a pretty special day for me. March 1st, 2012, like I knew was going to be the day that I was going to get my first tattoo. And I remember when they announced the hiatus, that was September 2011, so like 6 months before. I remember just like crying and being like, fuck, I should just go get the tattoo right now. But I had just gotten my lip pierced like less than a week before. And I was like, I don't really want to be healing a piercing and a tattoo at the same time.
Like, ugh, God, no.
Kelly, I also would really love to shout out some other bands and songs that we both loved and that we've turned to. So do you want to go first and list some off, or do you want me to go first?
I mean, I have a feeling we're going to have a couple of samesies.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because, you know, for me, it was like the introduction from GC to other things. It was like Simple Plan, Blink-182, Angels and Airwaves. And then like as I kept listening, I kept finding bands that I related to. So Postal Service, Death Cab for Cuties, Spill Canvas, The Cab, like stuff like that, where, you know, they kind of during the hiatus, they stepped in and like kept me going. And like, you know, I for the longest time was a huge Blink fan and therefore a huge Angels and Airwaves plus 44 Boxcar Racer fan. But it never got to GC level.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Simple Plan, like you said, was huge for me. Blink was huge. I had an essay about Adam's song on Substream magazine. Yeah. Angels and Airwaves was huge for me. Listeners, you probably know that I ran circlesandsoundwaves.com for about 7 years. Well, if you're wondering what the origin of that name was, the Circles and Soundwaves logo came as a doodle that I made for an Angels and Airwaves fan site. The sound wave was to represent that at the time I was taking these like engineering and physics and math courses, but it also represented my love for music. And then I was wanting to kind of write about music, and I said, I'll use that little doodle, that little Photoshop doodle. And yeah, Circles and Sound Waves, Angels and Airwaves.
I love that so much.
Yeah. So yeah, Angels and Airwaves was huge, still is huge. Seeing them last fall was fucking incredible. Some others I have to shout out from college, especially during that like hiatus time. Patent Pending was super huge. I have a patent pending tattoo. Pentimento and Major League were also really huge, are still both really huge. I've made the trip to Buffalo for Pentimento 3 times. It's like a 6-hour drive. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have tattoos for both of them too. A Will Away is absolutely incredible. They are a band from Connecticut. Yo, if you are listening to this show and you haven't listened to A Will Away yet, pause this podcast, go listen to A Will Away, and then you can come back. My recommendations are Be Easy, Gravity, Settling, Caroline, and Home. But just listen to all of it. And I should also shout out Arizona, who are this like alt electro pop group from New Jersey. And they just make this really incredible music that's like you can dance to and that scream your heart out. But it just really connects with a lot of inner feelings. So Freaking Out and Still Alive are 2 songs I would shout out from Arizona.
Okay. I was gonna say, I can't pause this, but I'm definitely writing. I'm writing them down.
Yeah, do it. So there is no music video for this song.
No.
It's not a single, but I did find a fan-made video for it. The person who made it is Shannon Carlton.
Oh, I love Shannon.
Oh, you know her?
Yeah, we actually had
a
Zoom date earlier in the week to do makeup and just talk for like 3 hours with all of our friends.
I love this. This is so great, guys. What a small world. Here I am, because, you know, we've had a few episodes of the show now where the song we're talking about doesn't have a music video. We talked about My Bloody Valentine a few weeks ago. There was no official video, but I found an awesome fan-made video for that song. Super awesome. Yeah, I'll send it to you, Kelly. It basically that one like acts out the song. Yeah, but Shannon's Let the Music Play video. It's a montage. There's some footage of the band live, you know, there's some where they're just walking around, and lots of footage of fans kind of singing along, often showing off their GC shirts and posters and such.
Aww, I can't believe I've never seen this, and she's my friend.
Yeah, it looks like, I think it was made quite a while ago. Yeah.
Well, what color hair does she have in it?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I was
gonna say that's usually a telltale.
No, I have played with my hair quite a bit too, but like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures, Kelly, but
oh yeah,
I dyed it for so long, and then in March, right before New Jersey went into shutdown, I chopped off the last of the purple, and so now my hair is one color, the color that it grows out of my head, and I'm like, dude, what is this? What is this? Don't like.
Like, I gave myself the big chop, and it chopped all of my blonde off, and so I just remember sitting there and being like, I have brown hair. This is weird.
Yeah, because I was super blonde when I was younger, and then I wasn't super blonde. And then in high school, I started dyeing it. College, I was dyeing it blonde, like dyeing it like super light blonde. But I never let it grow out enough. But then I stopped bleaching it a little over 2 years ago, and my hair grew in.
It's been that long?
Yeah, I haven't bleached it in 2 years.
Because I remember you like saying, "Okay, I'm not bleaching."
Yeah, that was March 2018. Jeez. And then April 2019, I did the first chop, and then I did the second chop March 2020. But yeah, no, it was like as my hair finally grew in, as I stopped bleaching, I was like, "Holy shit, it's so dark." It's very odd.
I mean, when all this is over, I'm 100% bleaching it back. I don't feel myself as a brunette.
Nor do I. I still have a tub of bleach under my bathroom sink because I never finished it. I know, and I have all this developer Oh boy.
Plus your hair is like really healthy right now.
I know. Well, that's the thing. My hair is really healthy. It was a process to get it here. I had to.
No. It's for you to mess it up again, obviously.
Right. Well, that's my thing, and it's like I feel like there's an essay somewhere in me about, like, the essay is probably just titled "It Grows Back," and the essay talks about how you can do whatever the hell you want to your hair.
Yeah.
And provided you don't have, health conditions that affect your hair growth, you can do whatever you want to your hair. You can buzz it off, you can braid it, you can get dreadlocks, you can bleach it, you can dye it, you can do Japanese permanent straightening, you can get a perm, you can crimp it, and it will grow back.
Yeah,
even if you
fucking do it.
Permanent dye that doesn't fade, it will grow back. And maybe that's kind of a metaphor for life, that a lot of things in life, right? That this is the essay, that like a lot of things in life, you know what? You grow past it.
Wow, okay.
Right?
I wasn't expecting to feel these feels, but I'm feeling them.
Right? Oh, yeah. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple reviews I wanted to shout out about this song. Sputnik Music overall gave the album a 2 out of 5, but they did mention this song, Let the Music Play, as a highlight. They said, additionally, the record possesses extremely catchy moments throughout, such as the unforgettable chorus to Let the Music Play. They talked a little bit about how this record had a lively edge that you didn't really get on Good Morning Revival, which is a very good observation, because I feel like Good Morning Revival, the title I think was supposed to imply that it was a revival, like a start over, but the album is not like optimal.
No, but I love it. I love it so much.
I love Good Morning Revival. Yeah. But
that was my rage album.
Yeah, it's so, I would say that's their most cynical album, like their most jaded and frustrated album. Would you agree?
Yeah, because there's a lot of other emotions that the other ones are more prominent with. Like, yeah, I would say Good Morning Revival is definitely their jaded one for sure.
Yeah. So this one is a user review. So on rateyourmusic.com, user Master of Disaster gave it a 7.8 out of 10, which, like, that's so specific. Like 7.8. Like, how do you get there? Maybe
they were like doing it by track, and then they put it together and averaged it out. That's the only way I could think to get a 7.8.
You know what? I think before Chorus.fm, I think when they were still Absolute Punk, I seem to remember reviews that would like rate things by category, like songwriting, production, and then I guess if you average that,
that would be a way to get a point.
Yeah. So what this person says in the review, they compare like the structure of the album to Good Morning Revival. That you have an intro that has the name of the album in its title. Then you have this really ambitious song to start it off, Let the Music Play. And then the album, they said they felt was split into 2 halves. So in the first 7 songs, there are 3 songs that they really liked. Let the Music Play, Like It's Her Birthday, Sex on the Radio. And then in the latter half of the album, this review felt there was only one standout track, which they named to be 1979. So obviously this album is pretty clearly split in half with the interlude. But do you agree with these characterizations of the best songs from the album? Or like, what are your picks from the first and second half?
I don't know. I feel like I'm one of the few people that likes the album like as a whole. Okay. I've never really thought of it as a split album. Like, I could kind of see where they're coming from.
I mean, it is a split in that there's the interlude midway through.
But like, I don't know, vibe-wise, it never really felt like super separated to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can kind of get it just thinking about the songs that are on the second half. Like I get where they're coming from. But like I love like Let the Music Play, Silver Screen,
Yeah.
like It's Her Birthday, Alive, Last Night.
I like
Crash.
Alive a lot. Oh, Crash. Yeah, that was one of the B-sides, right?
Yep. That's probably that Crash might be my absolute favorite as far as like
okay.
constant listening from the album.
Okay.
Followed pretty close by Let the Music Play. But for like I don't know, if you twisted my arm and I had to say a weakest song on the album, for me it might be Sex on the Radio or Standing Ovation. But like
I love Standing Ovation.
I
love that song.
Don't get me wrong, they're not bad songs. It's just like I like the other ones more. But like I don't know what it is about Standing Ovation.
I like Standing Ovation a lot. I feel like that song it's kind of celebratory in a way that acknowledges all you had to get through to be where you are now. So I thought that was really special. But also, if we're going to talk about, and you know, obviously, we'll have separate episodes for these songs. But if we're going to talk about, I'm getting on my soapbox right now. If we're going to talk about the second half of this album, I demand justice for There She Goes, and I demand justice for Right Where I Belong.
Right Where I Belong. Ugh, like I just got goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because like I, for the past few years, have wanted to and started making plans to move out to LA just because the Houston music scene is not really where I want it to be for me to hop into it. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this. Go big or go home. And like, I always joke about how, you know, it's a 23-hour drive for me. And I'm like, I'm going to make a montage video, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, the second I see the LA skyline in my video, I'm gonna play Right Where I Belong.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh God. Like, there are just so many times where even if it's not like a permanent place where you are, like you just sit back and you're like, man, think of all the things that I had to do right to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, perfect example, all throughout the Europe trip, like I would listen to that song and just be like, ugh, and like look around at all my friends and be like, what did I do so right?
Yeah, I know.
So
I love that.
No, I fuck real hard with Right Where I Belong.
Yes. Awesome. So that's about it for the reviews and such that I wanted to point out. But Kelly, as we look back, so this is, you know, just about 10 years since Cardiology came out. How has this song held up for you over time?
I mean, I love it as much as ever, if not more. It's a song that I can just sit in a quiet place and listen to, and it just immediately relaxes me. Because I'm always a big person about the whole like go with the flow. Like sometimes you just have to let the sea take you where it wants. Yeah. And like this, the keep on keeping on is exactly that. Like, all right, cool, just keep your head up and let's go. So yeah, I think, I don't know, the song might mean more to me now than it did when I first heard it.
Because you have like a lot of memories, a lot more memories associated with it.
A lot of memories. And then like, you know, I'm 10 years older. I don't have 20-year-old problems anymore. I have 30-year-old problems.
I don't know which I would choose. 18-year-old or 28-year-old problems.
Oh, I would gladly choose my teenage problems. Gladly. Like, well, it's because then I could just brush them off and be like, okay.
Right. No, it's I feel like when you're an adult, like in some ways the same things still bother you.
Yeah.
Like, mental health and feeling like you don't fit in and what you want to do with your life. And you realize that fitting in maybe doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like you might have the same general like overview problems, but you learn where to put your energy as an adult.
Definitely.
So like when I was young, I still had all the same problems, but then I would freak out over like, I have a pimple on picture day. Ugh.
Right.
And it's just like, cool, have you ever been audited by the IRS? That sucks. Like, move on to the next thing. And so you just learn how to, I guess you learn how to cope better. And
definitely
where you can spread yourself,
that's a great way to say that. Yeah I think learning to cope and care for yourself, I think, is a huge part of growing up. So Kelly, a few questions that I just like to ask everyone as we finish things up. First, what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed, or has it changed in any way?
Oh, I don't think there's enough time on your podcast for me to go into this.
I know. I know this question could lead to,
I could talk until you turned into that skeleton meme, like.
Right.
I mean, it's. When I first heard them, I connected to the music. I was a weird kid. I was bullied, didn't have friends, felt like an outcast, just like a lot of other people. And hearing them made me feel not alone, and that the feelings I was feeling were normal because other people felt them too, which is kind of a, when you're an adult, you have resources like therapy and stuff where you can be told that is a normal thing that you're feeling. But as a kid, you don't necessarily reach out and ask for that or stuff like that.
Well, and I feel like as a kid, because I have seen a couple therapists, here and there over the years, but like as a kid, I would see therapists and like they would say, oh yeah, that's normal, but like I never really believed it.
Yeah. You're like, okay, sure, you're getting paid to say that. Cool.
Right. You're getting paid, and you're probably telling my parents what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm absolutely going to censor a lot of what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, they connected me to this faceless group of people that related to me. And even though I had no interaction with any of them, like, I didn't feel alone.
I love that.
But, Good Charlotte as a whole has changed as far as what they mean to me, because, if I go back to 2001 and I ask 12-year-old baby Kelly, what's the coolest thing you could ever imagine in your life that has to do with Good Charlotte? I'd be like, oh, going to a show or a new album.
Right.
Or, like, never in a million years would I'd say, okay, cool.
Like, you have all these friends because of them.
You met so many important people in your life because of them. You've traveled the world because of them. You talk to them like they're your friends. Like, in Brussels, I gave Paul a beer, and then I did the thing where you like pop the top and make it explode.
Oh my God.
And like, I would have never thought like, yeah, okay, that's normal. No, it's really not. And like, it just changed what it means, because it means so much more now. Like, I owe them so much more because of the memories that I've created with them because of them. So yeah, it's absolutely changed for the better. And it's one of those where, there will never be another Good Charlotte in my life.
Definitely
There will never be a time where I don't hold them in a very dear place in my heart. 'Cause I've like 90% of the friends that I have now, I met at shows or
I love
through
that,
Twitter
yeah.
because of them. And it feels like I've known them for lifetimes.
Love
like,
that.
Yeah. And so I'm very thankful. You know, if the guys ever listen to this podcast and this episode and the stars align, like,
Yeah.
I'm not ballsy enough to say it at meet and greets, but thank you guys, like, for everything.
Yeah. I love that, Kelly. I think what you said, I think a lot of people, I mean, I definitely relate to a lot of that, and I'm sure that, like, I hope that a lot of people listening will relate to it too.
Like, especially you, like, all the cool things, like, when you got to interview Billy, and like,
oh my God,
I remember you posting about that, and I felt so excited for you. I was like, I know.
Had I told you beforehand that I was going to do it?
No.
Okay, that's right. Because I didn't tell. Like, I told a small amount of people, but I did.
You were like talking about trying to get to do it, but like after that conversation, I didn't know, and then you posted that, and I was just like,
I confirmed it. I confirmed that interview like 11:15 p.m. the night before.
Oh, I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I know what this means to her. I'm so happy.
Oh yeah. It was like, and listeners, that, like, I'll probably do like a whole episode at some point just talking about, you know, my background in writing and what it meant to get to do that interview. Cause I think that would be a really fun episode, and I'm sure people would want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Especially little Billy, I've only been like aware of your journey for what, 4 years now, but
4
like,
years, yeah.
All of the cool shit that you've gotten to do, I'm just like, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
No, it's been cool. And what I keep saying on probably like just about every episode of this show is like, you know, I've done so many different things in music. I went on Warped Tour, you know, I did all this writing. I got to interview Billy, you know, I interviewed Kevin from Walk the Moon earlier this year. I have a tattoo for them too, you know. I work full-time in the industry. But what's been really cool about this is I'm just having so much fun. Yeah. And I don't feel like I'm competing with anyone. I don't feel like I'm, you know, beholden to anyone else or anyone else's expectations. So that's just made this whole thing, you know, really enjoyable.
That takes a ton of pressure off you.
Oh yeah, so much.
And like actually lets you get to enjoy it.
Exactly. So, Kelly, this has been so wonderful. Do you have any last words about Let the Music Play, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
I mean, about the song, they're right. Like, keep going. It's cool. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be cookie cutter. You can just be you. As a whole, if anyone out there was waiting for a sign, this is it. Do it, whatever it is, as long as it's legal. Like, travel for that.
As long as it's safe.
Safe and legal. Asterisk, do not try this at home. Like, you know, all those warnings, but like, who cares? Life's too short, man. If people make fun of you for liking your band, cool. Like, they just suck. It's fine. But you know, travel to see your bands or with your friends. Be a little scared. Make memories while you can. Yeah. You know, live your life. Do it now, because you don't get any of it back. So might as well cash out while you can.
No, absolutely. Oh, that was Kelly. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, thank you for asking me. Like,
oh my gosh. I course.
Remember as soon as you announced it, I was like, let me know as many episodes as you want me to come on. I'm ready.
So absolutely. I'll definitely will have you back. Kelly, do you have any social media or anything on the internet? Where can people find you on the internet?
On the internet, let's see. Why am I totally blanking? On Twitter, I am Kellzorz, Kellzorz. On Instagram, I am Kelzor, so same thing but without the last Z, so KELLZOR.
Love that. Kelly,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 13 of Generation GC. We talked about Let the Music Play today. Last week, we talked about Keep Your Hands Off My Girl from Good Morning Revival. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Youth Authority, and we'll also have a mini episode coming in between. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And please leave a review, comment, rate the show, and of course, please, please, please share this show with your friends. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon.